Oh, hello, Jacob. How are we doing?
Hello, Brian. I'm doing great, thanks. Thanks for having me. Nice to be on the show again. What are
No,
we
it's
what
it's
are we doing today?
yeah, exactly. What are we doing today? Well, we are here to discuss, I think, your favorite deck, or arguably your favorite deck, Blurple. All right. So I think.
Uh
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, probably my favorite deck, at least for like the last two or three sets, I would say. Yes.
Yeah, look, Blurple has been a mainstay, I think, since set nine, right? It really took off. I think it was BDIF, arguably. Everyone was playing it, and then when it came to set 10, I think it's still one of the stronger contenders. But going into set champs these next few weekends, Blurple seems to be in a pretty good spot. So, I mean, what are your thoughts in general with that?
Yes, I think Blurple is still really well positioned in this metagame. Maybe not, as you said, maybe not the best deck in format anymore, but there's still a lot of windows for Blurple to weave in, I would say, to be well positioned in this metagame. And yeah, let's talk about it today.
Yeah.
Why?
Sure. So, all right, let me just change this orientation of it. Okay, so today we are going to break down Blurple. All right, so I think just to briefly cover an overview, we are looking at why should we be playing Blurple. Then we're talking about a specific deck list that Jacob has kind of cooked up over the past few weekends, and from there the deck list will actually also break down kind of the reasonings why we're playing which card in which slot. Because for Blurple, there are a plethora of options, right? So I think taking a look at some of those options would be really, really key. And of course, we want to talk a little bit about the mulligan as well, right? So we've prepared a couple of the, I guess, matchup specific mulligans and what we think is the best mulligan going blind. So yeah, without further ado, let's break it down. Okay, so why
Yeah,
Blurple?
let's do it.
Why blame? Why
Sorry.
why Blurple, Jacob?
um, so, why play Blurple? First of all, if you like to play Blurple, then you should play Blurple.
This is true.
And there, I think this is actually really important. This is thing people really overlook a lot. I think you should really identify with the deck you playing, especially for long big tournaments. It's important to draw your deck and to know your deck really well, to like know what your deck is capable of and what you should do in specific situations. So, but yeah, the Blurple is actually nice positioned to beat the other purple decks in the format right now. Maybe not all of them super consistently, but most of them. And as we know, there's a lot of purple in this metagame right now.
Yep. I mean, look, there's what Ruby Amethyst. There is Purple Steel, right? Even that you have that purple, the yellow purple combo deck as well, right? That is kind of like still
Exactly.
there. Is
You
it?
have even the
Oh no, and then you have purple
the
green as well
hyper.
now.
Exactly, and you have many purple green builds also, many different ones actually.
Yeah, I actually just got my ass kicked by the purple green aggro. You know the one that came out that kind of gained popularity after the Singapore DLC. The one where they pay
Yes,
the the glow caster wands. Then they dump their whole hand, and you're just like, oh, they can't get 5 lore in one turn, can they? Can
they
they?
can easily. They can out of hand with no board.
I know it's insane. It's really insane. But we're not
Yeah,
talking about that. Like we're talking about Blurple, right?
exactly.
Yeah, so I think I just put a few key points there, right? You play Blurple, as you said, if you like it, that's the most important thing. Second thing I think is even more so I feel with in comparison to other purple decks, Blurple just allows you to draw, right? Yeah, you've got your genies, you've got your Dumbos. Not every single purple deck you kind of capitalizes on that, but I feel like with Blurple you kind of have that option, right? You play the big bodies, and I just it takes me back to the times when you play second star to the right, right? Where literally that's your win condition. You second star to the right with your Hades, your Genie, and you suddenly just win the game because you're just out resourcing your opponents.
Exactly. Yeah. In the Blurple deck, the big benefit is that you going this big because of the ramp Sapphire provides, so you can actually play these big card draw cards, right? Because they're usually expensive and a little bit slow, but in Blurple we can manage that.
Yeah.
And yeah, also we have great tools for bot control. Like Purple turns out to have almost the best ones in the format.
Yep. I mean, you have your Elsas, right? You have your Ursulas if you want to use. Well, Ursulas not really a board control, but you have your Elsas. You have both the big and the small ones. What else do you have? You have
The Cheshire Cat.
Cheshire Cat. You have Hades, Purple Hades as well. So many different tools that you can use for board control. You're absolutely right. But I think with every single pro, there are also cons to the deck. Right, so I think in my opinion, the biggest con with Blurple specifically is that it's not great into aggro. Right, I once again, speaking from personal experience, got my ass kicked by that green purple deck over the weekend. In fact, my other loss as well that I got, I think it was to an Amber Steel deck as well. Amber Steel just kind of Mowgli'd away my Into the Unknowns twice, and cried a little bit.
That hurts. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it doesn't do too well in the aggro because it takes some time to set up, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, this is the biggest con to Blurple is we sometimes struggle with wide boards because we only develop one character at most in these early turns of the game, usually. But the way Blurple is built right now, we can adapt this playstyle actually.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the last kind of con that we want to talk about as well is no ramp, no game. Are you a believer of that statement, Jacob?
Also less with the current set 10 Blurple, but still missing the ramp is really bad. Can be brutal sometimes. Like can cause you to lose games. But there is a lot of ways now to find a good curve also without the ramp.
All right. Well, I guess we that's good. Segue point into the deck list, right? So let's move on to the deck list, and maybe you can explain to us how do you play without ramp? Because in my head, ramp is a must, right?
Yes.
But yeah, okay. Well, wait. We are blocking the deck list. Let me just shift this down. Okay, we should be good in here. All right. So Jacob, tell me. Let's break down the deck list. So your 1-drops, you have Rafikis, you have Basils. 2-drops, you have your ramp options, your Tipo, your Sail the Azurite Seas. Oh, I see you play a copy of 1-drop ahead as well. And then 3-drops, you have your Cheshires, which is two copies of that. And then you have your 4-drop core. This looks like a pretty standard, I think, Blurple list. But kind of walk me through this, Jacob. What made you comfortable with the 60?
So there is a little bit of a change right now in Blurple. Not only from set 9 to set 10, but also inside of set 10. I think players learned that the Mana is actually a really good card in Blurple. Also, when I play the TLC Singapore, I know it already that the Mana is really good in Blurple, but I did not know yet how good she really is. She surprised me sometimes in the tournament, like how good she was. I think you could even see that on the stream, which is quite funny. And yeah, so we built the deck right now basically around the Mana, like the other purple decks do actually. And so we can play a little bit of a lower curve. That's also why we have the full 8 1-drops in the deck to maximize our chances to hit the 1-drop and to ideally have low cards once we hit the Mana.
Interesting.
So we want to have a lot of ink. We want to spend all our ink every turn until we come to the Mana. And also the Into the Unknown has a little bit of a more present role right now, because we can, a lot of times we can curve into Demona into the Unknown.
Yeah. No, I mean that's a sick combo,
And
right?
yeah,
Demona into the Unknown is
yeah,
devastating almost.
yeah, it can be. It can really be.
I can almost imagine, right? If you're playing against like a blue-green matchup, they just played Prince Philip. You're kind of like, oh no, what do I do? You're at 9 ink, you played the Demona, you enter the Unknown, the Prince Philip, and you look at them, and you.
Yeah, and what is great about the Demona is also you can actually exert the War, the 3-drop Prince Philip, to deny them the shift, which can turn around the whole matchup in many cases.
That's true. Yeah, I mean that's a really really good point as well. But okay,
Yeah.
I mean this list looks pretty sound. As mentioned before, I think some of the call outs here that we wanted to highlight is we're playing that 4 copies of Demona now. Typically we only see 2 or 3. I think in the past, even some decks I think only run 1. Right, so that's a huge
Yep.
sign of a shift, or rather the biggest change I can see. And some of the cards that you've cut for that Demona would be like your Cheshire Cats. Usually, I think I see decks play 3 or 4. You're only playing a 2 copy of that, and also I think like a 3 copy of Bell, which has also started regaining popularity. I think a lot more emphasis was focused on the Cheshire Cat in the early set 10s, right? But now people are starting to be like, no, you know what? The bigger body, the slightly bigger stats, slightly bigger quest line, as well as the instantaneous, I think, usage of Bell, kind of attributed to that popularity.
Yes, I think she makes a big difference in these purple matchups. Like against Purple Steel, there is a lot of things with 4 toughness, like the Palace Guard, the Cheshire Cat, the Lexington. So she makes a big difference here, and also she can move 3 damage instead of 2, right? So that could also make a difference. Also, especially, I like her the most in these purple mirrors, where she can take out the Dumbo on her own by just moving the 3 damage onto the Dumbo.
Yeah, very, very.
And I think this comes up a lot actually. So
yeah, I mean, look, every purple deck is playing Dumbo, right? So
yeah.
okay, so let's move on.
Yes.
Let's move on to the core portion of I guess the deck list, right? So I think in Blurple, these are your non-negotiables, right? You have to be playing these 6 cards, and almost in every instance you'd be playing 4 copies of them. Would you like to kind of walk us through this this core list, Jakob?
Exactly. Yes, I do. So the Tipo and the Sail are, as you said, this is the cards you never want to cut out of a Blurple deck. You really need them. You really need at least one of them for your turn 2. We also have the one jump ahead, which is basically the 9th copy of these cards. And what makes us what does that improve on our game plan is, so we can skip the turn 3 basically. We go directly from 2 to 4. So that is also why we have so many good 4-drops, especially the Genie. The Genie is, in most games, our card we always want to play on turn 3, because we can put a really good evasive questor onto the board, the 2 questor even, and we also get to draw another card, which makes our coming turns more smooth. And the Genie is a really good threat on his own. Sometimes you can just walk away with a few Genies because your opponent does not answer them quickly, and they quest really quickly. The Elsa is the best card ever basically in this format. She is always so good. She's, especially in Blurple, she's so good because you can, together with your Genie, you can deal with opposing Genies. She can also, what we see a lot of in this current metagame is that there is really like these stalemate board states, I would say, where no player wants to exert, wants to open up, and then the Elsa can just kind of break these really stale board states.
Yeah, I mean, it forces the opponent's hand, right? Like, even if the opponent doesn't want to play the game, you're like, nope, I want to play the game. Elsa comes down.
Exactly.
But I also do want to point out, I think, something else that both of us really mentioned just now. I think the one other very, very core strength of Blurple is the fact that you can play your purple cards faster than your opponent, right? Especially if it's not a mirror, right? I think that's just something that you highlighted just now. You said, you know, you're playing your 4-drops on 3, and I was like, right, that's the other biggest strength of Blurple. You are playing it before your opponent, so your genie's questing for at least 2 before your, you know, Ruby Amethyst genies or your Purple Steel genies, right? Your Elsa's coming out on 4, which allows you to trade into the genie that they had just played. You know, so yeah, with the ramp, with
Exactly.
the genies, with the Elsas, it's just gross sometimes.
Yeah. If Blurple gets to start, it can feel so unfair.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And yeah, we have the Into the Unknown as well, right? And you know, we were just talking about this earlier. Into the Unknown being almost taking over the core slot of Hades.
Exactly. Into the Unknown is one of the most uncuttable cards in this deck. It's one of the best removals in the core constructed metagame, I think. And we even have premium enablers for it in Elsa and Demona.
Yeah, absolutely agree. So yeah, I think with a larger focus in Demona, you know, it allows you to trigger the Into the Unknown a little bit easier, and for a lot cheaper of a cost as well, right? I mean, your genies can sing it, your Dumbos can sing it, your Elsas can sing it. Well, yeah, and your Cheshire Cats can sing it as well. Now that I think about it.
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, I think Into the Unknown replacing the core slot of Hades does make a little bit more sense at this point. I think if you told me this a month ago, I would probably disagree. But now if I have your focus in Demona, I definitely see why this has taken over the slot.
Okay. Yeah.
So moving on, let's talk about the 1-drops, and let's break down some of the, and this is going to be the format for I think the rest of the video, right? We want to take a look at why we've included some of these 1-drops when there are other better or you know, past consideration 1-drops that we've seen in the past, right? So on the left hand side we have Rafiki and Basil. Why did you choose Rafiki and Basil over something like a Develop Your Brain or Royal Guard?
So the Basil is, I would say, in general, our best 1-drop on the play, because it synergizes so well with our turn 3 and turn 4 plays, which is usually the Genie and the Elsa. Because these characters only attack for 2. So if the support from Basil comes in really handy, for example, if you play the Elsa on the blade, which is already your turn 4, you can support it with Basil, and she can basically take out anything you want. Also, the Basil can be really handy in fighting the other evasives. For example, your Genie can trade for your opponent's Genie now. And so the Basil often stops your opponent from questing, especially when they're on evasives also. And the Rafiki is just our on the draw. It's a card we really want to see when we're going second, when we're on the draw. Because he can do 3 damage in 1 hit. He can challenge a lot of the things our opponent wants to pressure us with. For example, the 1-cost lady, the 0-3 1-drop lady. I think it's Lady Family Dog. No, I think the Family Dog is the 3-drop.
I think it's the Define Dog, is it?
I'm also not sure right now. Okay, we know the card. We know the card, right?
It's a yellow-green card. It's a yellow-green card.
Exactly. The multicolored dog. People can really run away with this card if you don't stop it on the spot. So it's really important to have the potential to at least stop it when we're on the draw. And yeah, I think the Rafiki comes in handy in a lot of situations. There could be the argument made to play Royal Guard in over the Rafiki. And it is a valid argument because there is cards that support the Royal Guard in our deck, like the Demona and the Woodchuck Guidebook. But in the end, I decided for Rafiki because he is a little bit more consistent. It could make the difference to win a game or not if you can deal this 3 damage, because with the Royal Guard in the early game you still need like a Sail, the Aetherite Seer, you still need a Genie to make him hit for 3, and yeah, I didn't want to deal with these inconsistencies.
Fair
Also,
enough.
the Palace Guard. Excuse me,
No,
Ryan.
sorry. I
You
was gonna
wanted to
say.
mention?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if let's say, the people watching this video, right, if they choose to put in the Royal Guard over the Rafiki, would you say that's like a deck breaking decision, or would you be like, yeah, that's fine?
No, absolutely not. I think you give yourself a little bit better chances, probably against other purple decks and against blue-green, for example, where you have the potential to like trade up for a big character, right?
Yeah.
But you probably hurt your consistency against dogs, especially a bit in the end, I think.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. And Palace Guard.
Yeah, Palace Guard is. I see Palace Guard more as like an aggressive card. He has 4 toughness. He's like the same statline as Daisy Duck, right?
Yeah.
Which is a really good statline usually in an aggressive deck where you don't want your early game characters to be taken out immediately, so you can go quest multiple times with them. So yeah, I don't really see the point for Palace Guard and Blurple.
Yep.
He can help against other aggressive decks because he's just a beefy body in the early game. But I think the more strength just helps a little bit more in this case.
No, fully agree with you on that. I think in the past, like I'm talking late set 8, I think I was probably still playing a bit Palace Guards because there's Palace Guard with Hypnotic Strength, deals with a 3/4, but you no longer need to kind of have that body on the board so early on, right? You're not playing 4 copies of Palace Guards, 4 copies of Hypnotic Strengths. That's a deck of the past, and yeah, I fully agree with decisions. I think on the Rafikis and the Basils, I probably would prefer the option of Royal Guard, but that I think is just personal preference at that point. But I did want to talk about the Develop Your Brain real quick, or just a quick note on that. Develop Your Brain, is it a card which is a nice to have? It's not good at all, or you just didn't have space?
I was also running Develop Your Brain a lot recently, actually. I had 4 copies of it, and yeah, the thing is, you need to make space. So you don't want to run, I would say, 1 copy of Develop Your Brain.
Nah, it feels
You
weird.
want a couple at least if you're running it, so you're actually seeing it sometimes. The role that Develop Your Brain is filling, in my opinion, is that you have a more consistent chance to hit your turn 2 ramp.
Yes.
So you can turn 1 develop and give yourself another chance to hit the ramp in case you didn't see it in your opening hand. But we already do that with the 1 jump ahead, right? So we just directly play 1 more ramp in the deck to give ourselves better chances in that way. And so we win a few slots for actual good cards, because the Develop Your Brain is actually a really bad card. It's just basically paying 1 more for another card, which is only good when you're hitting a good card of it.
Yeah, can you
Right.
imagine you develop your brain into a tipo?
So often you develop into your brain into something that's not good at all. Like, it's just 2 cards in the end. There's a lot of bad cards still in the deck for many situations.
Yeah.
So yes, I think Develop Your Brain surprisingly often just doesn't do very much for you.
Fair enough. All right.
And yeah, that's why I don't like it. Also, I think in this current metagame, Daisy Duck triggers are also quite important. It's nice to have a very character-dense deck to always get stuff from your opponent's Daisy Ducks.
That's true, especially because Dogs is really risen in popularity in set 10, as of right now, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Dogs is on the rise right now, yeah.
Unfortunately, I hate Dogs. No, I'm kidding. I love Dogs. Dogs was a deck that I predicted would win the Singapore DLC. Clearly didn't. But hey, I think Dogs is a really good chance for Hong Kong, though.
I think so too.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to 4 drops. Would you like to walk us through the 4 drops?
Let's do it.
Yep. So okay. So on the
So
left hand side, I think the included 4 drops. Actually, sorry. No, we did we remove Iago's? No, we still kept Iago's. Hey.
no, no, no. Yeah, we are on the 3 included ones. We're all on 4 copies.
Yeah. So we are playing the Iagos, we are playing the Dumbos and the Genies. I think Dumbos and Genies are non-questionable, right? They are part of the core. So I just wanted to quickly touch base as to why they're so good. Genie replaces itself, it's evasive, a quest of 2. Honestly, if I can play Genie on Genie on Genie and my opponent can't answer it, you're probably gonna win the game.
Yeah, you probably do. Yeah, Genie is still like one of the best cards in the game.
It's
yeah. I mean, we really saw it in set 9 how good Genie really is. I think Genie was one of the few reasons Amethyst was so good in set 9, and it's one of the few reasons it's still so good in set 10. Yeah, it's just so above rate if you compare it to other cards.
Yeah, I think the stats of Genie is kind of off the charts, right?
Yeah.
2 for evasive is strength of raging fire. You need 4 units before you can actually get rid of that Genie, which is also kind of gross because when you purple seals on the draw, but at the time they have 4 units, your opponent's already playing the Elsa, and then you go, do you actually have 4 units?
the time they can hard cast their Center of the Raging Fire, there's already a Genie on the board.
Yeah, exactly. It's it's gross.
On the draw, I mean, if they're on the play, it can be tough though. Like if they have the 1, 2, 3 Genie Think Strength, you are in trouble usually, and that's when you usually, these are the spots where you would want to have the Madame Elephant.
Yeah,
this is
so much harder
if you decide to run the Madame Elephant, this is probably the situation you want him for. Like the purple steel on the draw, there's when he shines, because then he does not get strengthed compared to all your other 4-drops.
Yeah, and you also have the nifty ability to shift damage counters. It's like a mini Cheshire cat, right?
Exactly, and then usually he freezes the board for a few turns, and that can give you all the time you need to win the purple steel matchup. That was the reason also why I had a one-off copy in my deck for the Singapore DLC. I used to have a one-off copy sometimes recently. He's like he's going in and out of my deck basically. I would recommend to not run more than one if you want to run him, because I think he's specifically there for this reason, and you don't really need to tech too much to beat Purple Steel, because it's one of your better matchups still.
Yeah, fair enough. I think I like the Meta Mim, right? I think Meta Mim does stave off not only Purple Steel but also aggro really well, because once the Mim comes down, and if the aggro can't quest, the moment they quest, it's just not great for them, because the Mim can just easily trade into one dog and then have 2 damage counters left over to trade into another dog next turn. It's a mess which dogs doesn't want to get themselves into.
That is true, but the problem against dogs is he plays so poorly into the Chromicon that, yeah, I don't like him against dogs too much. Prefer the other 4-drops, to be honest.
No, you're right. Chromicon is a thing, but I think Chromicon. Yeah, no, Chromicon just sucks.
Yeah, Chromicon is the card we want to see the least on our opponent's side of the board when you're playing Blurple.
For sure. Yeah, you're able to trade 2 units, but they're able to bounce 2 of yours. All right, and you also have to bounce something for the Mim as well, which isn't
exactly
great.
Basically, when you're facing a Chromicon, Madame Elephant is ink. It's always ink.
But what if they don't play the Chromicon on 3 or 4? Then do you play the Madame?
I mean, yeah, if the Chromicon is not already on the board, we can play the Madame Mim, because she still freezes the board, right?
Yeah.
Once the Chromicon comes down, she does not anymore, because then they can just bounce her, right? Once she's damaged.
That's right.
So yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Dumbo. I know we're kind of jumping around here, but I think it was a really good segue into the Mim. But with the Dumbo is just gross as well. You know, set 9 is probably one of the most impactful, if not the, yeah, it's one of the most impactful cards I think that came out in set 9. Right, it's evasive. That's already a sign of a good card. It has its own ability that gets you draw, which is also really, really good. It gives all your other evasives draw. That's when it crosses the line for me. That's when I'm like, that card is broken. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, it doesn't only gain you. It doesn't only draw you a card. It gains you a lore as well, right? And in a package of your Genie, Elsa, and Dumbo, you're giving all these cards which are already good a better reason for you to play them.
Exactly, yeah. As you said, we also get the lore, so we don't have to give up on questing, right? The Dumbo just adds the card as a bonus.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's really nice. Dumbo is still not a card that is fantastic in all situations. Dumbo is still a really slow card. You have to keep that in mind. Dumbo will not auto-win you games. Like, you really have to put in work to win games with Dumbo. Dumbo is good once you stabilize the board, and then you pull ahead with him.
I think I want to add on that. I think the other reason that Dumbo is really good is that it allows you to outgrind your opponent, right? In the games where it goes 20 turns, right? You are always going to have resources to play because of Dumbo. Dumbo is your late game engine, so to say.
Exactly, and you can also, what Dumbo can also do really well is, for example, maneuver around the Clarabelle, where you are not allowed to basically build a big hand, but you can also draw on demand with Dumbo. Once you run out of cards, you draw one with Dumbo, play one, and pass the turn with an empty hand again, but never run out of cards, right?
That's a really good point. I never thought about that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, so Dumbo, I think that's all we need to talk about Dumbo. We don't need to give you more reasons to play it because it's already so strong. But let's talk about the Forgotten Sister, I guess, or the Forgotten Princess, right? Cinderella. I mean, Cinderella. Just looking at the price of Cinderella, it was like what, $40-$60 when it first came out. Now it's dropped all the way down to 20. And other than the new version of the blue-green that we've seen popping up, I haven't actually seen Cinderella in a lot of decks. Why do you think that's the case, Jacob?
I think because she's just actually really, I don't know how to say, like she's such a brick. You really don't want to draw into her at all. You really wanna slam her on turn 3 and ramp into your big plays, but that's not really what we are doing in Blurple. In Blurple, we are kind of a tempo deck actually. We never want to fall behind on the board too much. We always want to keep contesting our opponent's characters, because once we fall behind on board, we basically lost. Because of how the Blurple deck is built, we always play one big character usually, and we wanna curve out nicely. The Cinderella, she does ramp us from 4 to 6, but that doesn't really do too much. And also, once you have the Cinderella, you have this Unink in your hand that you really need to play, basically.
Yeah.
And also, other decks that run Cinderella have more ways to get rid of Unninks, I think. In Blurple, we only have the Tipo. And yeah, I think in Blurple, when you're running Cinderella, you're always forcing yourself into the Cinderella line, basically. And where Blurple can play so much better lines, actually, than the Cinderella line, I would say.
No, I hear you in that. Okay, so that summarizes 4 drops really well. Let's look at the 5 drops. All right, 5 drops. It's like same but different when you're looking at set 10 in comparison to sets 8 and sets 9. right? You have the new toy in Hades looking for a deal, but you also
Mhm.
have the optional Ursulas, and I say Ursulas in plural because there are now two of them, which are actually pretty good to play in the Blurple meta, right? I don't want to talk about Elsa too much. We already know why Elsa is good. We touched a little bit about
Exactly.
Belle, but let's talk about Hades, right? I think Hades, when it came out, I guess it was revealed in set 10. People are like, this card is pretty good. Why purple again?
That is the big question. Why do we get so good purple cards again? Like Hades, the Mona, Cheshire Cat, right?
It's so
There's also the
close.
Ursula, also a really good card. Yeah, I don't know. Um, there's a lot of good purple cards. And also this is funnily enough, the role of Hades is kind of to deal with the other purple decks. Because the other purple decks are also drawing a lot of cards, it could actually happen to you that they draw more than you. Like if you face a purple steel deck and they are also playing the Monas and Dogs and Hades and Dumbos and Genies, and it really comes down to who is drawing more of these cards. Because one once one of the players runs out of cards, the other will win. And because the purple steel deck also cannot really finish the game fast enough, usually um, we can beat them if we outgrind them, right?
Yeah.
But they can also outgrind us, and this is why the Hades is still kind of important. I was running a little bit fewer of the 5 cost Hades recently, but I added back in the 4 to like really, yeah, never fall behind on card draw.
Yeah, but
I also,
so just wanted to ask you actually on the
yeah,
Hades, right? Jakob,
yeah,
would you say that out of, I mean, because we've talked about quite a few cards which we feel are super, super important and they play a really, really good role, right? But if let's say I want to put in a tech card, heck, this Ursula Voice Stealer, right?
hmm
Hades would, in my opinion, would be the card I'll look at cutting, almost not first, but maybe second, right? Like I could live with like
yeah.
three Hades. I could look at maybe even two Hades if I really wanted to, stretch the slots. Is this something that you agree with, or do you think Hades looking for a deal is uncuttable?
Nah, I totally agree. Um, we are on 11 5 drops already in this list, so there's really not, we can't play anymore basically. So it would be actually a wise thing to cut a few maybe, because the cat also can be a 5 drop, right? Because you play 3 to play her and then 2 to boost her.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, I think Hades is the most cuttable card in this deck by far actually. And if we even wanna include more other 5 drops, we would have to cut 5 drops already in the deck, and the Elsa is basically not cuttable. So yeah,
yeah, and I think the bell almost plays too important of a role right now. Right, I think as you mentioned, you're able to get rid of your opponent's numbers. If you have the Cheshire Cat down there, you have the bell plus the Cheshire Cat boost to get rid of the opponent's Cheshire Cats. There's so many things at 3 HP or 3, kind of toughness that can be easily gotten rid of with that bell. So it's a little bit too important at this point.
yeah,
But let's talk about the Ursulas real quick. I mean, these are fun cards. I think they're not only fun but also really, really good, right?
hmm
Ursula Voice Stealer. We saw a little bit. I was testing it in set 9. With the Into the Unknown combination, right? Because it's basically the way I read it is Ursula. When I play Ursula, exert a character. Full stop. Right? I think for that effect already is really strong, but you also have the added additional benefit of casting your Into the Unknowns, right? Which every single Blood Bowl deck is playing, right? So not only can you exert a character, you can actually play Into the Unknown on a different exerted character as well if they have multiple exerted characters, right? I think this card
yeah.
is really, really, really strong. Um, but why do you think people? Why is it not? I guess in your current deck list?
So yeah, I agree. It's a really strong card. In the end, we just can only play so many for 5 drops, right? And we already have the 4 Elsas. I played with the Ursula in the past, and I always saw her as like an additional Elsa.
Yep.
Whereas now, my additional Elsas are basically my Demonas. And I don't like the song ability that Ursula could play a song for free. I don't value this too highly because I think that the Into the Unknown could anyways could be played for free anyways. And yeah, it's more important to draw additional cards than play the ones we already have for free, because we're already kind of good at
just having value,
playing,
I guess, right?
Playing
is kind of what
exactly,
you're talking about.
exactly. It's more important to have the value than like do these big tempo plays. We have good tempo tools already in this deck. Like basically all our 5 drops that are in this deck already, they represent kind of a way to interact with our opponent, right?
Yeah.
So we don't necessarily need another one.
Yeah, that's very fair. So then let's talk about the other Ursula, right? Whisper of Vanessa. 4/5 boost 1. When there's a card underneath this character, she gains +1 +1 questing lore as well as evasive, right? So if you really want to look at her kind of with all her stats in one place, it's a 6/4/5 quest for 3 and evasive. That's a very aggressive package.
Yeah, it's super aggressive. I mean, she's there to close out the games, right? She's another evasive in case for Dumbo, but I think you would rather quest for free than draw the card and get the lore. Depends on the situation though, but yeah, she can close out games quite effectively. Is another evasive, which is nice against like red purple and purple steel. But yeah, I think also not really necessary to run her. Yeah, if you expect to face a lot of maybe also blue-green, you could run her, because in the end you want big questers against the blue-green deck, because you will have to finish the game before them at some point. But yeah, I ultimately I didn't really find space for her, because I also like the card, but I rather have cards that can interact and maybe can do something more than just being a big body.
Yeah, not only that, I was gonna say as well, when I have actually played her in the deck, it never feels like there's a good time to play her, right? Like,
yeah,
5, you've said it before, you have 11/5 drops. Most of the time, early on, you're not gonna want to play her. You're gonna want to play the Elsa, right, to kind of stave off some of the pressure that your opponent is playing, or you want to be playing the Belle to kind of heal off some of the damage which has been done before. And I'd rather draw cards than to be able to quest 3 next turn, right? I feel like that's the kind of problem that I have with Ursula, is that it never impacts the board when you play her, right? It's good if she lasts more than like 2 turns, but the fact of the matter is that on 5 you're never gonna be playing Ursula without boosting, so you can't play her on 5. You have to play her on 6. You play her on 6, your opponent is going to play something like a Demona, and then suddenly your Ursula is looking kind of tasty, so to say,
Yeah, and if you did not boost her up for some reason until then, she's just... oof.
Yeah, she's just a vanilla body, right? 5-drop, 4/5 vanilla body.
Yeah,
never looking great.
Yeah, so you really need to boost her up, right? And yeah, she is a little bit slow, to be honest.
Yeah, I fully agree.
But yeah, she's not bad. She's a totally valid consideration, I gotta say.
Yeah. All right, and let's move on to some of the other cards that are kind of left over. I failed to include Hades in here. I should have included Hades. Hades is, in my opinion, one of the best cards still. But yeah, let's talk about some of the other inclusions. Junior Woodchuck Guidebook. This has been in and out and in and out of Blurple. I know not your particular list, but in terms of lists that I've seen from set 10, people played it, then people played it with Tamatoa, then people removed Tamatoa, removed Woodchuck, then they put it back in. And now I've seen it kind of like a mainstay. It's not really core for Blurple, but it's really darn good.
For me, it is core. I played in every Blurple. I played in set 10. I played for Junior Woodchuck Guidebook.
Yeah.
In every list. Yeah.
What's so good about it, in your opinion?
It's just a less clunky Finders Keepers, basically. We only get to draw 2 instead of 3, but also we get to pay a lot of less ink, right? So the guidebook is one of the best top decks we can have later on to just refill our hand. The guidebook can also be played in the mid game, for example, on 5 ink together with a cat, or on 6 ink together with a genie, something like that. And we pay 1 ink later on to draw the cards when we need. This is also a really good strategy against decks like blue-green and blue-steel, where you always want to draw on demand, right? When you're running out of cards, not necessarily just to have a lot of cards, because you could get punished for that.
For sure.
With the Goliath and the Clarabelle.
Yeah. Hypnotic Strength also, I think it was in Blurple for quite a while. Then people removed it because I think of a lack of Iagos, and now it's back, right? Just real quick, is there any other reason that you play Hypnotic Strength other than getting rid of opponents' Iagos and buffing your Genie/Elsas to deal with your opponent's evasives?
Yes, so in this slot in Singapore, I was running Magical Maneuvers.
Yep.
Which is also another way to deal with Iago.
True.
In the end, the Magical Maneuvers is really strong, but the Hypnotic Strength is just a little bit more consistent. The Hypnotic Strength, both are out to Iago, right? They both fulfill the same role, and that is usually what they're here for, and if not, they're basically ink. But the Hypnotic Strength, sometimes it comes up a little bit more often, I would say, especially in the early turns, where you get a more efficient trade because of the Hypnotic Strength, where you could maybe Hypnotic Strength an opposing Palace Guard, which is a play I do a lot, actually. And with the Magical Maneuvers, you always lose tempo because you have to bounce your own character. So in the end, I just made this little change, and yeah, I am still not 100% convinced it's a good change, but because I also like I like the Magical Maneuvers also. It can be so good, but yeah, Hypnotic Strength a little bit more consistent.
Fair enough. Let's talk about One Jump Ahead then. One Jump Ahead. Okay, irregardless of which meta, which season, it's always just a one-off. Completely agree with that. But I noticed in your previous version you didn't have it, but in this version you put it back in. Is there a reason why you do that?
Yeah, because I actually like it with the Demona. I like to have the really consistent ramp into Demona. Also, what I do a lot more recently is to double ramp into Demona, to not only ramp on turn 2, but also ramp on turn 3. For example, I play a turn 2 Tipo. Turn 3, I play my 4-drop and sing One Jump Ahead with the Tipo.
Yeah.
Then I end up with 1 card in hand, which is ideally Demona. So you can go Demona, draw 3 on turn 4, which can be nuts. You can also just play double ramp lines more consistently, like a turn 2 One Jump Ahead, turn 3 Sail into Cheshire Cat, turn 4 Demona, or
okay,
some lines like this.
Fair enough. I think the situation, your second scenario sounds a lot more probable than your first scenario. I think the number of times I've drawn both Tipo and One Jump Ahead in one hand probably could be counted in like my 2 hands, right?
I mean, it happens sometimes though. Like, of course it's not like every second game, but maybe like 1 in 5 games.
Yeah.
And also, you don't want to go for that line. all the time. That is the next thing. Like in a lot of games, this line would be too slow probably, but yeah, if I think against blue green, for example, it's one of the best lines you could make.
Yep, of course.
Because yeah,
I mean, you need to match the pace, right? For every ink they ink, you have to ink as well. If not, you're gonna get
exactly.
out tempoed by them.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about your favorite card. I know we've all been waiting for this, Demona.
Yeah, I mean, she just changed the whole deck, and I think she's crazy powerful. Like when you're on the play with a Demona on turn 4, turn 5, you sometimes feel unbeatable. I think Blurple is the best Demona deck in the format when we are having the good Demona line. It feels unbeatable. It also gives you an out to Prince Philip, as I said. It also gives you an out to dogs. If they don't play the Chromicon and you Demona them, you basically just win.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a great card. It can be a really bad card also, if your opponent has 0 cards in their hand and you draw Demona. You sometimes cannot play her because you would lose the game. But yeah, sometimes you also have to play her and kind of gamble on the fact that you are also drawing 3 cards and maybe yours are better than your opponent's. Or yeah, there is situations where she is not so good, but there's situations where she is just the best card ever.
Fair. Yeah, I think Demona is one of those cards which have had a lot of mixed opinions about. But when you sent me this list, so you had 4 copies of the Demona, I was like, that's kind of crazy, but I understand. It's not like out of this world craziness.
I mean, she's also inkable, so
yeah, that is dude. If she was uninkable, I'm not sure I would be playing her, to be honest.
Yeah, she would be like a lot worse, obviously.
Yeah. All right. Cheshire Cat. This cat has been running rampant in so many decks. I think we've touched base about being the ability to kind of just move damage, allows you to clear the board really quickly. Cheshire Cat is one of my favorite cards in set 10. Just being able to maneuver the damage. It's got a really solid body as well. I don't know what they were thinking when they designed this card. Even if you give Cheshire Cat 3, like a 3-cost 3/3 body, I would have been like, that's good still. 3/4 is crazy. It's over the top, right? Boost 2 is... Yeah. Boost 2 I think is fair, right? Boost 3 would be too bad. Boost 2 I think is fair. But a 3/4 body on a 3 cost? It's like nuts, man.
Yeah, the fact that she's moving 2 also, right? It's like a 4 damage swing. So the cat is always super efficient. You can not only boost her immediately when you play her to move damage around, but also you can just play her as a 3-cost 3/4. As we said, she's always above rate basically, or never below rate.
Yeah.
Right. The boost ability also fills out your future turns so nicely. For example, when you have the cat around the board already and you're going into your 7 ink turn, usually have a really nice Elsa into boost cat play, right? Where you would exert some of theirs, trade in, boost the cat, trade some, take another character out. So yeah, the cat really smooths out your curve, let's say.
Yeah, this cat is absolutely nuts. Not only in Blurple, but also I think in other purple decks. But I think the cat in general is one of the best cards that has come out from set 10. And if you're not playing cat, you should definitely be playing cat. Not a 4-off, I feel, because as a Blurple deck, you don't really play a lot of 3-drops because you want to skip that turn, right? But
exactly.
I think a 2 or 3 copies of that should be fine.
I think so too.
All right, now let's talk about some of the excluded options. Let's get one thing out of the way. Elsa, Spirit of Winter, I think was a really good card. It's still a very good card, but right now it's a little bit too slow to play.
Yeah, I think so too. Also, the Demona kind of fulfills her role right now, like as the additional exert, let's say. Elsa was better against the aggressive decks because she would also freeze them for another turn. But yeah, no need for the card anymore.
Yeah,
just with the Demona in the deck, she's just way too clunky.
Yeah, and she's uninkable, right? We talked about this slightly earlier. If the card was inkable, maybe I would play like 1 or 2 copies against like a super aggro heavy meta. But even then,
yeah, I would definitely play a few copies if she was inkable, because she's the best card ever against aggro decks. Yeah.
Okay, second star to the right. You know, it's always been a 1-off or 2-off in the Blurple deck ever since I think it was rediscovered and fabled. Right, but ever since we shifted over to set 10, I think DKP played it in the Singapore list, if I remember correctly.
No, he did not.
Oh, he didn't?
He did
Sorry.
Not. No.
But I think there was
he was only on for Genie for Hades, regarding the Hunnings. I actually played around with it recently a lot, and I think a lot of people did. Yeah, it's there basically to win the mirror.
Yeah.
So we saw that in Z9. Yeah, the player who gets to sing it first wins. Usually, right now it's who wins the die roll. No, it's also not that. But I gotta say, because there's not so many second stars being played anymore, the die roll is more important again in the Blurple mirror.
But if you, I mean, just out of curiosity, right? If you're going into, let's say, you set champs, right, next week, and you know everyone there is going to be playing Blurple because, you know, in Singapore, this past weekend, I think Blurple won 2 set champs. Alright, so I think Blurple is back on the rise. Would you tech second star to the right and, let's say, taking over the slot from the Hades, the Purple Hades?
No, because the Purple Hades is a really good singer for second star to the right also. And the Purple Hades is just a really good card if you expect a lot of decks.
Yeah. So in what
I would
try
to cut something else if it's to tech against purple. But yeah, if you really want to tech against the other purple decks, you could consider also cutting a Rafiki, for example.
Yeah, good call. Good call.
Yeah.
All right, and Spooky Sight. I think this is probably the card that we talk that a lot of people was saying it's a must play in Blurple if you are facing against aggro, but now we see almost 0 copies of Spooky Sight. Why do you think that's the case? And what's your opinion of this card, I guess?
I don't like it. I feel like it was never really winning me games when I actually played it. Also in other decks like blue-green or blue-steel. It just gave me a slim chance to win the game, but in the end I got punished for it anyway. For example, if you're facing dogs, it looks like a really good card on paper, but when the dog player expects it, he will try to leave the 5-cost lady in his hand, and when they do that, they put so much characters on the board after you spooky side them.
Yeah.
Like I think because everybody expects the card still, people play around it, and when they do, you don't really the card doesn't do what it should, what it's supposed to.
It becomes a less spooky sight.
Yes, it's not so spooky anymore, right?
Yeah.
Because usually you're giving your opponent a lot of ink, and yeah, also the purple steel decks, for example, they profit so much of this ink boost you give them. Basically against purple steel you cannot play this card, because when they have a dog left in their hand, they will just run away with the game immediately afterwards.
Yeah, for sure. Is there anything that you would play against aggro, or would there be like a specific card that you would tech in if it's not Spooky Sight, or is Spooky Sight still the best option out there against aggro decks?
So I think there is 2 really prominent aggro decks in the format, which is first of all the dogs, obviously. Yeah. Second is the Speci kind of $12 aggro list, right? The green-purple one.
Yeah.
And I think that this is actually your biggest problem. This is the list you can't beat, basically. And against that, I don't really know what to do, honestly. I think running Elephant helps also against this deck. The metagame Elephant, because it trades for almost all the characters. The damage moving comes in handy. And against dogs, also, that I think the deck is built quite well against dogs already. But if you wanna make the matchup even better, you can also run Wasabi. I think it's your best card to beat the dogs deck. Yeah. To ink the Chromicon.
Yeah. I mean, I never expected to hear Wasabi. I mean, this card has always been kind of in my peripheral vision. I've known of this tech for a while, but I always thought something like a Hideaway would have been like a better option against dogs.
Yeah, I think the body is also quite good from the Wasabi, right?
Does Wasabi gain evasive, or is that a different Wasabi?
He does gain evasive, yes. He does gain evasive during your turn. Like a 4-cost 3/3 evasive.
Well, that's not too bad, I guess.
It is not too bad, actually, yeah. I think it's the best thing we have for item remover.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you really want an item remover to deal with Chromicon, run him. But yeah, I would rather focus on to have a more solid matchup spread than to like really try to beat this one.
Got it. All right, and I think that covers pretty much the breakdown, the card breakdown of Blurple and kind of the deck profile that we were looking at today. But I also wanted to give a freebie, I guess, to the people who are watching this. Right, we have prepared kind of like a mulligan cheat sheet as well. So if you're playing this deck, you're interested in playing this deck, I think I'll start off first because I think this is pretty clear in my opinion, right? If you're going blind, guys, all you want to look is for curve, right? And your curve is not 1, 2, 3, 4. Your curve is 1, 2, 4, right? So you want a 1/1 drop, either your Basil or your Rafikis. You want your ramp options, either your Tipo or your Sail the Ezra Sea. In my opinion, Sail the Ezra Sea is always a slightly better option, just because you're replacing your hand, unless you're going for a unless you have a Demona in your hand, then you don't mind keeping that Tipo because you want to empty out your hand faster for that Demona play. You want your 4-drop. Most ideal is your Genie. Slightly less ideal would be your Dumbo, but or your Iago, I guess, depending on the situation. And then of course you want to have your Dumbo or your Elsa prepped, right? So you could greed if you want and find the rest of your curve, but at the end of the day, you need your inkables, right? You need cards to be able to be put in your ink, and this would be very, very matchup dependent. So just kind of see that 3 round symbols at the top left hand corner of your card and keep that in your hand, and kind of just weigh out your options from there. Anything you would like to add for the blind mulligan?
No, that pretty much covers it. I think, yeah, as you said, the 1, 2, 4, 5 is the most important things to hit. It's like basically our first 4 plays. The Elsa is just always try to think about, do I like kind of throw something else away to find an Elsa, or to find like the missing slot in my curve. But in the end, also try to, as Bryan said, you also want inkables. Don't like throw away everything, because if, for example, sometimes you have like a Sail and a Tipo already in your hand, and you have, let's say, 1, 4, 5. You would probably keep everything, because you can just ink the Tipo then and play the Sail, and you have like 1 less bad card in your deck. Because what could happen is like you put away like the Tipo, and then you get an uninkable card in return, and your hand is so much worse in an instance. For sure. Because now you have like a Tipos in the deck, you could potentially draw into them later, and you have a uninkable card in your hand that could be there for like multiple turns. And yeah,
for sure. All right, with the purple steel matchup, Jacob, you want to take us through that?
Yes, so the purple steel matchup is probably the most common matchup in the metagame, and it's not too different than our, let's say, blind mulligan. We also really want the one drop, we really want the ramp, and we really want the Elsa. We want it. Like I think against the purple decks, we try to dig for Elsa a little bit more than against the other decks, because it's so important to end up with evasives and try to, like, we know these evasive wars, right?
Yeah.
Where fighting the evasives fighting for the bot control, and it's so important to win those, because the player who wins the evasive wars is usually also the one who gets to do all the good things, like, first of all, questing without being punished. Second, sometimes you can, like, stack up damage on your evasive characters, and your opponent can't punish you for that, and then you can move around the damage without being punished, right?
Yeah.
And it just snowballs so quickly out of hand. Like, once you have an advantage with the evasive characters, you will likely end up winning.
Yeah.
A few turns later. Yeah.
Fair enough. So I think
So
I guess to kind of highlight the purple steel matchup, Elsa is the most important thing that you need to find, and you need to kind of like match up pace as well, and find like those one drops, right?
exactly, one drop is really important. Ideally, also turn 2 sail into one drop. If you're on the draw, also Tipo is really fine. On the play also, just keep in mind that he will cost you an extra card. But yeah, try to put a few characters onto the board early and try to curve into your evasive characters, and you should be fine.
All right, summarizes the purple steel kind of mulligan. Yeah, so let's move on to the blue green side of things. So it's looking quite similar to I guess your blind mulligan, but you wanted to add a few more things, I guess, against this matchup. Hey.
Yeah, this is the matchup where the mulligan is the weirdest, I would say, because we try to operate so differently than in our other matchups. On the play, when we are on the play against blue-green, it's not too different. We just, again, really wanna prioritize the Elsa. We really need to find an Elsa, because with that we can deny the Clarabelle shift on turn 4. Like, if they ramp and play the Clarabelle one turn earlier, they could do that on turn 4. We could deny that if we have an Elsa.
Yeah.
So if we curve 1, 2, 3, or like 1, 2, 4
Yeah.
Elsa, that's usually really good, and we delay their game plan a lot. And when we are on the draw, it's tricky though. When we are on the draw, we cannot stop their Clarabelle shift, basically. So we basically have, if they have the turn 4 Clarabelle shift, we basically have 3 turns to dump our hand. So we really want to ramp on turn 2 and also on turn 3.
Yeah.
And on turn 3, we ideally also want to play multiple ramp cards. For example, we could have a line like turn 2 sail,
Yeah.
turn 3 sail into Tipo. Or we could have a line like turn 2 sail, turn 3 sail into the unknown, our own Tipo.
Yeah.
We could play lines like these, and end up with like 6-7 ink on turn 4, which is really good because, first of all, they don't get to draw too many cards from Clarabelle, and we also get to high ink amounts really early into the game, which could like enable an early Hades to deal with their Clarabelle or Basil. Also, we can effectively play against their cards like Donald and You're Welcome. If we already are on such high inks, we can usually play all these extra cards we might get through their cards, so we can pressure them.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think something else that is really, really important. I think you touched base on it a little bit, but when you dump your hand, they can't draw, right? Using the Clarabelles. But I think something that you have to be a little bit, and they also can't use bend to my will, or at least not effectively, right? Because they're never gonna bend to my will.
Yeah, that's
zero card
another
hand.
one.
So that's something that you don't have to worry about as you're dumping your hand as well, I suppose. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that is another one.
So yeah, so I think that brings us to the end of the deck analysis. Jacob, what's next for you, man?
Next for me is a really good question. So I wanna keep my full focus on Lorcana. I'm working on a MetaFi guide also for my Blurple. I tried to push that out before DLC Richmond because I thought that would have been a relevant data maybe, but I will not manage that. But I will try to get it out as soon as possible. Also with updates for set 11 and future sets maybe also. And yeah, shout out to my team, Rare Hunters. Thanks for having me, Bryan.
No worries, mate. Thank you so much. And yeah, guys, keep an eye out for Jacob's MetaFi guide as well. This information that we're sharing in this video is just the tip of the iceberg, right? I believe you can go through different matchup specifics as well, which will definitely level up your gameplay if you're planning on maining like Blurple decks. So do for sure keep an eye out. Once he does have that up, we'll share that on our socials as well. All right. All right, thanks so much, Jacob. Have a great day, my friend. And we'll see you around.
Thanks, Bryan. See you.